A discreet employee at a weapons company discovers that a military energy drink is turning his coworkers into psychotic maniacs. Desmond Brimble works as an accountant at Amotech Weapons Manufacturing, the world's leading innovator in mass protection weapons. He has always been late, and when he arrives at Amotech, the guard, Clarence, won't let him in without his entry pass. Because of this, Desmond ends up filling out a form just to gain access. As soon as he enters, he quickly runs into his friend Samantha. In the elevator, Samantha jokes about his tardiness and gives him a watch so he won't be late again. Desmond thanks her briefly, then sneaks into his cubicle without his boss noticing. A few minutes later, his boss, Adam Nussbaum, calls him to his office. As Desmond stands up to go, Helen, the secretary, insists on opening the door despite her slow movements. When Desmond enters, Nussbaum comments on his tardiness once more. However, he says that he doesn't care about that, and all he wants is for you to deliver Clayton's report as soon as possible. He also reminds you that you need to give it your best, or you'll be fired. Desmond then returns to his cubicle, but his coworker Lentworth asks him if he was fired. Lentworth then starts talking about how Altria, another weapons manufacturer, is laying off its staff, and soon Amotech will do the same. Murad Haryana joins the conversation and claims that it's already happening because one of her friend's desks is empty, so she must have been laid off. As Lentworth and Murad begin to panic, Desmond reassures them that they'll be fine. Suddenly, Marcus Gant, a favorite employee, interrupts and laughs about how they'll be laid off while he gets promoted. While Marcus mocks Lentworth, saying he'll definitely be fired, Nussbaum calls him to his office. Desmond and Murad can only shake their heads, knowing Lentworth's fate. At that moment, Dr. Nicholas Fromm calls Desmond to head to the Research and Development Center. As he walks there, he starts recalling strategies on how to survive in Amotech's hostile work environment. First, always have a clipboard at hand because the busier you look, the more invisible you become. Second, know the language, especially if you're being accused. Third, if others involve you, don't give them anything useful, or they'll expect you to do so every time. Desmond executes this by intentionally giving an unattractive slogan when his coworker asks him for one. Fourth, the higher the position, the more arrogant people are. Fifth, the people who process orders are the ones who hold the power. Finally, Desmond reaches R&D, where he encounters Dr. Fromm. Fromm begins to complain about how long it takes Desmond to process his orders. Just then, Fromm detonates a test missile that fires at the carcass of a pig, which explodes all over Desmond. This makes Fromm laugh, but he becomes serious when another scientist calls him. Meanwhile, Desmond is beyond furious, so he starts thinking about an additional strategy, which he calls 5B. Here, he decides to make Fromm's life miserable by losing the documentation. When Desmond is about to leave, he overhears a conversation between Fromm and another scientist, saying that something is still not ready. After this, he carries out the sixth strategy, which involves practicing breathing techniques. In reality, it refers to getting high in a storage room with Lentworth and his other colleague, Ralph. He then returns to his cubicle, where he recalls the seventh strategy, working on their personal agendas. He sees it as a backup plan, so he develops a game where the main character roams a supermarket while high. When Desmond gets bored, he bothers Murad while he's working. He then talks about how much he loves working at Amotech because it allows him to work on his game. Murad, on the other hand, thinks he stays because of Samantha. Just then, everyone is called to the motivational seminar. On the way, Samantha asks Desmond about the pig incident earlier and reminds him not to make any more mistakes. She then sets an alarm on the watch she gave him, telling him to stop by her office tomorrow to hear how impressed Nussbaum is with his report. During the seminar, Franklin Grant, Marcus's uncle, presents his new product, Zolt, an energy drink that claims to awaken the warrior within. Meanwhile, Desmond moves away from the area to work on his report for Clayton. As he leaves, he sees a group of workers delivering the mentioned energy drink. When Desmond gets home, he immediately heads to his room to work on his report, but his roommates want to play an improvised version of Mario Kart with him. At first, he refuses, but ends up joining them anyway. However, this results in spelling errors throughout his report the next day. Still, he goes to work, but when he arrives at the entrance, Clarence is nowhere to be found. Suddenly, he sees the scientist Fromm was talking to the other day, but he quickly drives away in his car. Desmond enters the office but doesn't notice that the receptionist has a broken cup embedded in the back of his neck. Because he's in such a hurry, he also doesn't notice that the entire office is splattered with blood and filled with corpses. When he finally reaches his cubicle, Nussbaum calls him to his office. He prints his messy report before heading there. Upon arriving at the office, he finds his boss sharpening pencils while sniffing them strangely, and he's also talking about making dirt pancakes and exporting them to Africa. Then, to Desmond's horror, he finds a dead man with tons of pencils stabbed into his back. Nussbaum laughs, saying he killed him because he wrote something wrong. Upon hearing this, Desmond panics as Nussbaum reads his report and indeed finds a misused word. However, Desmond avoids his wrath by justifying his work. Nussbaum calms down but becomes enraged again upon finding his name misspelled. Nussbaum then throws Desmond against the door, sending him flying outside. The other employees reveal themselves, all acting like psychopathic zombies. They begin to chase Desmond, but he manages to hide in a nearby cubicle. There, he sees his colleague Carter, who is writing frantically while drinking Zolt. Carter yells at him to leave, and when Desmond realizes he's dangerous, he cautiously exits. However, he accidentally unplugs Carter's computer, which causes Carter to attack him. Desmond defends himself, but Carter is much stronger than him. As he continues to be attacked, he grabs a clipboard, which he uses to hit Carter on the head. Carter then slips, and the clipboard impales his head, killing him in the process. Desmond tries to call for help, but the operator on the other end of the phone is killed by her supervisor. Realizing he must save himself, Desmond grabs a clipboard and tries to act busy to become invisible as he escapes. However, while passing by the out-of-control marketing team, they throw a decapitated head at him and ask for a slogan. Desmond tries not to panic and comes up with a weak slogan as usual. For some reason, the team accepts it, allowing him to get out unharmed. Before he can leave, his watch goes off, reminding him of Samantha. He rushes to her office, but when he arrives, he finds that she has already consumed half a can of Zolt. He stops her from drinking more, causing the drink to spill. Samantha becomes enraged and starts attacking Desmond. She then pins him down on the table, trying to force him into having sex with her. However, Desmond hits her on the head with a book, knocking her unconscious. Knowing how unpredictable she can be, Desmond ties her to a stretcher so they can leave together. They then go down the stairs but are forced to hide in a storage room when they encounter a crowd of angry employees approaching. While Desmond looks out the door, he sees Nussbaum forming his own crowd. At that moment, Murad attacks him, but Desmond pins him against the wall, thinking he's infected. However, Murad explains that he is fasting during Ramadan, so he hasn't consumed Zolt. Just then, Samantha goes wild again, so Desmond covers her mouth, resulting in his finger being bitten. Meanwhile, Nussbaum gets into an argument with Bob and his crowd of Amotech marketing cronies. Nussbaum wants Bob and his team to acknowledge him as the leader, but Bob argues that the marketing team is superior to accounting. He says they make something out of nothing, then throws a can of Zolt at Nussbaum. Nussbaum then demonstrates that he can also make something out of nothing. Using the can of Zolt that Bob threw, he creates a shuriken and decapitates his enemy with a single toss. After this, he tells the enraged mob to kill the two employees who devised a campaign he hated before continuing his rampage. Meanwhile, Samantha regains her sanity, and Desmond tells her he almost bit his finger. Murad reminds them that they need to escape, so everyone agrees to use the stairs. However, they're filled with rebellious employees, so they resort to using the elevator. This also proves futile as the employees have destroyed the cables. With no other option, they try the ventilation ducts, but they can't get Samantha to fit. Because of this, they hide in the nearest office, where Desmond thinks of breaking a window. While he's smashing a monitor against the glass, Samantha and Murad try to stop him, but it's already too late. It turns out this activated the anti-terrorism system, which protects the building from rocket attacks. Desmond only skimmed the employee training manual, so he's unaware of this, resulting in them accidentally locking themselves in the building. Murad vents about it, but Samantha reminds him that he should be grateful that Desmond stayed. Then they think about how to open the security seal, and Murad responds that only upper management can do it. With this, they decide to go through an entire floor full of angry employees just to reach the executive level. Along the way, they encounter Helen, who is still slow despite having taken Zolt. Desmond then breaks a vase over her head, but she suddenly disappears and ends up jumping on Murad's back. However, Murad slams Helen against the wall, causing her to get a blow to the face. Samantha can't believe they did this to an 80-year-old woman, but the men justify it as self-defense. After this, they pass by the Human Resources Department, where Samantha works. When they arrive, they find Lentworth, who only came to pick up his last paycheck, unaware of the current crisis. He panics upon seeing a corpse on the floor, which leads the HR team to corner him. Desmond tries to save him by announcing over the loudspeaker that there is a meeting. This almost works, but Murad and Samantha accidentally draw attention to themselves. The employees intend to attack them next, but Samantha suddenly reveals gossip that one of the HR women has been spreading. This enrages the others against the woman, and they end up killing her instead. Along with Lentworth, the team prepares to advance through the executive level. Before leaving, they agree to release Samantha, but she tells Desmond to kill her if she becomes uncontrollable. Finally, it's time to cross the executive level. The enraged employees stop dead in their tracks upon seeing the team, and despite Desmond's attempt to explain that they only intend to pass through, the employees still go after them. With no other choice, the team fights the enraged employees, killing them one by one. Meanwhile, Desmond finds a sane employee amidst the chaos, but Murad, unaware of this, accidentally kills him. Seeing how scared Murad is, Desmond decides not to tell him the truth. After this, the team heads to Franklin's office, but he and his executives refuse to let them in. Just then, a janitor comes out of the room, so they take the opportunity to enter. Upon entering Franklin's office, his executives cautiously defend themselves against the team. However, Franklin ends the conflict and agrees to reveal information about Zolt while they have a glass of scotch. He explains that Zolt was designed to keep soldiers more alert. However, when one of Fromm's scientists became upset, he distributed the drink to everyone, which led to their current dilemma. Franklin doesn't have a concrete plan to resolve the issue and also has no antidote. However, Desmond is not satisfied with this, as he wants to save Samantha. This leads him to threaten Franklin, but Franklin reminds him that only his fingerprint can open the security seal. He also adds that only Fromm knows what's really going on, and they need to go to his office to speak with him. Suddenly, Nussbaum and his team call Franklin from outside the office, demanding that he remove the security seal. Franklin laughs, saying that his door is made of a 2-inch thick titanium steel alloy. However, this only leads Nussbaum to destroy the walls instead, which were poorly constructed. Realizing this, Franklin tells everyone to get ready. Meanwhile, Desmond hides Samantha because she is too weak to fight. On the other hand, Murad is losing the will to live, but Desmond inspires him by telling him he is his third best friend. As they prepare, they discover that Lentworth took something from Zolt. He claims they are a lost cause, so he prefers to join the others to have a chance at getting his job back. However, as he approaches the employees, Nussbaum drives an axe into him. Nussbaum then tells everyone to attack, and they end up killing the executives. Meanwhile, Franklin protects the others with a shotgun while Desmond helps him. As Franklin gets excited about his killing spree, Nussbaum suddenly cuts off his hand and then kills him by shooting him in the head with the shotgun. After this, Nussbaum claims that he will rule the world before taking Franklin's severed hand with him. He leaves the team in the hands of the bloodthirsty employees, but Desmond kills them with a single blow when he shoots a container full of bullets. At that moment, Samantha falls to the ground and her condition worsens. Meanwhile, Nussbaum plans to expand his empire by distributing Zolt worldwide. Elsewhere, Desmond and Murad take Samantha to Fromm's office, where Desmond punches him as soon as he enters. It turns out Fromm took credit for Zolt from another scientist, which led the scientist to arm himself against everyone. However, Fromm tells Desmond that he is also guilty because he denied his request, which led Fromm's team to use alternatives to finish Zolt on time. This surprises Desmond, but he despises Fromm and demands an antidote. Fromm explains that he can reverse the damage to Samantha because she didn't take a full dose of Zolt. However, they only have 30 minutes to make the antidote. For this, they need a vial from the storage room, which is full of Nussbaum's henchmen. Before leaving, Desmond and Murad give Fromm a small punch on the arm. After this, they gather a bunch of weapons and prepare for battle. When they arrive at the warehouse, they witness Ralph being killed by the employees. Just at that moment, Nussbaum sees them through the security cameras and tells everyone to kill them. In a panic, Desmond slips 2 landmines onto the ground, hoping that someone will step on them. When that fails, Murad uses a flamethrower to threaten the employees. However, he eventually runs out of fuel, so he and Desmond end up fleeing for their lives. A few minutes later, they find the right opportunity to shoot everyone and kill most of the employees. After this, they successfully recover the antidote vial, but before they can leave, Nussbaum shoots at them with his exoskeletal bot. As they hide from Nussbaum's bullets, Desmond tells Murad to take the vial to Fromm. Murad doesn't hesitate for a moment and runs for his life but is soon attacked by Marcus. Murad decides to fight back, ruthlessly beating Marcus and screaming with rage. This attracts the surviving employees, but when they see how fierce he is, they back off, allowing him to escape. Meanwhile, Desmond fights against Nussbaum and his henchmen with only a machine gun. As he tries to escape, the robot runs out of power. Coincidentally, Marcus is nearby, so Nussbaum tears off his arm and uses it as fuel, which is one of the robot's special features. Just before Desmond is shot, Samantha shoots Nussbaum with her weapon. The antidote worked, and now Samantha tells him to escape with her. Shortly after, Desmond, Samantha, and Murad run towards the exit, but Nussbaum is chasing them. They try to kill him with the bombs they place throughout the building, but the detonator seems to fail. With this, Desmond steps on one of the landmines, which Nussbaum unknowingly steps on as well. Just as they reach the exit, the entire building explodes while the other bombs also detonate. Desmond then kisses Samantha while Murad urinates in front of the police who have just arrived at Amotech. If you liked the summary, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. It's free and really helps me keep growing.